The widow and father of a man who died after being infected with HIV have been among those giving evidence on the third day of the infected blood inquiry in Wales. Paul Summers, a haemophiliac, died in 2008, 2 decades after being given a new treatment at the University Hospital of Wales. His family told the inquiry that doctors in Cardiff had not told him he was infected. Our health correspondent, Owain Clark, reports.
So this is the building in Porthcawl.
This is the Esplanade House, which...
Many will be familiar with Paul Summers' achievements, despite not knowing him personally. He designed some of the most striking buildings in Wales. But as a child, Paul spent long periods in hospital and needed regular tests to monitor his haemophilia, until as a teenager in the late 70s, doctors offered him a new treatment and a new hope.
For us and for him, it was fantastic because it meant he no longer had to go to hospital. Unless it was a severe bleed, then yes, he'd still have to go.
If there was an incident or something, he knew that he could treat it.
But as time went on, Paul's father started to become concerned. He'd read worrying press reports from America.
There was a lot of suspicion, newspaper articles, and I kept asking at the hospital, and they said, no, there's no problem, you know, everything's fine.
So Paul had no reason to be concerned when he went for a checkup at a new hospital, having just started an architecture degree in Plymouth.
All his paperwork went to Derryford Hospital, and they were surprised what they saw in the papers that Paul hadn't been told that he was HIV. And they did blood tests, and the first test showed that he was HIV.
So the system knew he was, but he didn't?
Yeah.
The doctors told Tony Paul would never live long enough to celebrate his 50th birthday. It was a bombshell, yet Paul took it in his stride.
We stood outside the hospital and said, well, what do we do now? And Paul's reaction was, he said, I could do with a couple of new pairs of jeans. And he said he wouldn't mind taking me for a steak, and we'll talk about it when we go for a steak.
But the prediction proved to be true. Paul died just before Christmas 2008, aged 44.
I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God.
Monica Summers, Paul's widow, who now lives in America with her daughter, flew in especially to give evidence and talked about how her husband felt towards the end of his life.
And Paul did have a lot of trouble sleeping, so it wasn't uncommon to find him on the couch and the TV on. I went down into our extension that he had built, and he was crying. And he said, I'm so afraid I won't watch our daughter grow up.
Shortly after, Monica told me about the continuing impact the loss is having on their daughter, Tia. She was only 5 when her father died.
Pretty much between 18 months and 2 years, every day, when's my daddy coming home? Every day. There's no more going down the bay, you know, on his shoulders. There's no more watching the reindeer parade in Cowbridge on his shoulders. You know, obviously as a 5-year-old, it's a lot.
This is a family that spent decades battling to find out the truth. Finally, the inquiry, which they thought might never happen, has heard their story. And back home, in the Vale of Glamorgan, Tony Summers reflects on what his son would have made of it all.
All the effort, all the fighting, I can turn to him and say we did it.